We have Nicole Maxali. She is joining us now. She is an actor, writer, producer, motivational speaker, and I'm so happy to have you. Welcome.
Thank you, Anelia. It's fantastic. I've been following this account for almost a year now.
Oh,
So I'm super excited to be invited onto Collective Hustle's IG Live. Thank you.
yeah, we're super excited to have you today. Well, before we get into it, though, tell me and tell our Collective Hustle family. Tell us a little about yourself, a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I'm a Panay third generation from San Francisco Bay Area. I'm an artist, an actor, like you said, producer, writer. I do all the creative stuff. I just moved back to the Bay, living in New York for almost 10 years, hustling, hustling that New York lifestyle, and just returned home and so because of COVID, and so it's bittersweet, but also it feels like it was way past due. So I'm super excited to be back in San Francisco and California with all my Bay Area Panays and Pinoys.
Welcome back. Well, what brought you to New York in the first place? I can see in your bio that you were an actor, but also a comedian. You've opened up for quite a few big names.
Yeah, I was blessed to have the opportunity to open for Joe Coy and Hassan Minaj, Ali Wong, and also Dave Chappelle. So I went to New York with dreams of making it big and becoming a full-time actor slash writer. And I was actually able to do that. But what really got me to New York is sort of like a unfortunate story. But my father passed away 10 years ago. And the month before he passed away very suddenly from a heart attack, we had spent Father's Day together. And he told me to move to New York and to pursue my dreams. Because at the time I was just like surviving in the Bay and working, a normal 9 to 5. And he told me, really pushed me, you should just do your arts and really go for your creative stuff. And he said, never stop pursuing your art. And when he passed away, I saw it as a sign that, life is short. We never know our expiration date. And so I wanted to live my life to the fullest and live without regrets. And so I left everything I knew in the Bay. I had no family in New York except for a cousin in Jersey, which is like 2 hours away. And I did it. I hustled my butt off. I've never worked so hard in my life, but I was able to do it. And I come back now with so much more wisdom and experience and great artistic and career experience that I would have never gotten if I had stayed here.
Yeah, how long were you in New York for?
Almost 10 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you definitely have quite the resume, so you definitely went out for it in New York. So what brought you home now?
So a couple of things. One, I was just so homesick. New York gives you a lot of opportunities, especially in career, but there's nothing like being at home with family. And I had wanted to move back for a couple of years, but my husband had just moved to New York to be with me. So he wanted to stay for 5 more years. And so we were staying for him. And then COVID hit, and he was the first one we knew who got COVID
Oh, no. And he's
on
good and he's
March.
healthy. Okay.
Oh, yeah, he recovered, but it
Good.
took months. He got it the same day as Tom Hanks.
Oh, so that was like the beginning. That's when you knew it was real.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I was freaking out because I have asthma and I have anxiety. So I made him sort of quarantine in our tiny one bedroom by himself, and I slept in the living room. But I think that really opened my eyes to, when you face death and you face like your mortality, it's sort of like a wake up call. And for me, it was about reprioritizing my life. And I knew I wanted to be around our family, and I knew I didn't want to be stuck in a one bedroom during shelter in place because everything was shut down. All of my acting gigs were, shut down for 8 months. And so I told him I wanted to go back to Cali and shelter in place with our family and be closer to our family.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing like, something like that to say, hey, you know what? We need to be back with the people we want to be around, the people we love and care about. We need to be close to them. So well, welcome back.
Thank you.
Well, we have you here because you have just shared that you are, I'm not quite sure when you started the production company, but you have started a production company called Kindred Kapwa. And
Yes.
kind of as a coming out party, you guys are producing something called Kapwa Cares.
Yes.
And you are featuring quite the lineup as well. So tell me a little bit about your production company, but then I want to hear more about the event.
Sure. So a part of sheltering in place for a year and a half in COVID, I think it also gave me an opportunity because there were like absolutely no acting gigs except for all the Zoom stuff that was happening. It allowed me to sort of transition, and I see it as sort of like my Phoenix stage of going from a full-time actor and writer to becoming a full-time writer slash filmmaker. And being a director was a dream I've always had. But I think because I never went to film school, I had this huge imposter syndrome of I'm not good enough, who would hire me, who would believe in the projects that I want to do or put money in the projects that I want to do. So it was actually a beautiful thing that I hooked up with a friend who owns his own production company here in the Bay. And I pitched him an idea for a short film, and he loved it. And so we started filming it in March, and that's when I decided, I'm just going to start my own production company. There's not enough Asian American and specifically Filipino American stories out there that aren't just about crazy rich Asians or, the stereotypical Filipinos we see in Hollywood today. So I wanted to sort of write movies, write TV shows, write media from a different perspective, especially Filipinos here in Northern California. I think it's a very specific niche of Filipino Americans. And also I wanted to bring stories to Filipino Americans that inspire us to actually, do stuff that are outside of the normal Filipino cultural acceptance and conditioning of what we're used to. And so another thing that I wanted to do was highlight our Filipino American heroes. And I don't think enough of them have been highlighted in the past. I know a lot of us know Larry Itliong, who was actually an uncle through marriage. But a lot of people don't know Pat Saliver, and he's also my uncle, and he was part of the Third World Liberation Front at SF State in the 1960s. And he, along with a lot of other Filipino Americans during that time, helped to create PACE, which is the first Filipino collegiate club in America, and also helped to create the Ethnic Studies program at SF State, which was the first of its kind in America. And so because of his work and his sacrifices and struggle, we have things like Asian American studies, we have things like Latinx studies, we have things like women's studies and LGBTQA studies all over America. And so I wanted to write a screenplay reflecting his life and his struggle, doing all the work that he did in the 60s.
And there's nobody else better to tell it because you come from a long, proud line of, are you third generation? You said in
I am third
Francisco.
generation.
That's phenomenal. Tell us about your grandfather, you said, that came.
So both of my grandfathers are actually from the Manong Generation. They immigrated here in the 1920s, both 1927, months apart. They first came to Seattle and then they came down to San Francisco, which is like crazy. I'm not sure if they even knew each other, but we just found their immigration records doing research on my uncle.
To Seattle and then both came to San Francisco. Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Friends.
And so I know for a fact that my mother's father, he met my grandmother at the International Hotel because they were both residents there. at the I Hotel. And for any Filipino from the Bay Area who's taken an ethnic studies class, they know how iconic the International Hotel is.
Tell me about this event you have coming up.
So Kapwa Cares was born, I want to say, a couple of months ago when my friend who manages Kapwa Gardens, shout out to Marissa Makayan, she approached me and said, hey, why don't you do a launch party for your production company you just started? And I thought that was a great idea because, one, it's an outdoor event and space. So, you know, with all this like Delta variant and COVID, mask, no mask kind of things, we thought it was really important to have a space where people felt safe. You know, personally, my husband had it, and, you know, a lot of my family had it last year. So we really wanted to make it safe for folks, but also celebrate just all the things we weren't able to celebrate in 2020, you know, birthdays and graduations and all of things, not just my production company. And because both of my uncle and my grandma gave so much to the community when they were alive, I really thought, and it was a really big calling for me to do this event and donate all of the ticket proceeds to 3 organizations in the Soma area that are dedicated to the Filipinos in that area. So one is Soma Filipinas, one is Cultivate Labs, and the last is Bindle Stiff Studio. And all 3 have been instrumental, not only for the Filipinos in Soma, but also for my own artistic journey and helping me through, you know, the highs and the lows, and specifically Bindle Stiff Studio being one of the first theaters that I've performed as a stand-up comic, as an actor, as a writer, and even a director. So it was really important for me to get back to the community because that's essentially what Kapwa means. And I think for us as Filipinos, and what I love about what Romeo says, we need to not see each other as competition, but see each other and see how we can collaborate.
Who's in the lineup, and are you performing?
Well, okay, so first of all, my whole stand-up comedy days, I think I've retired and hung up that hat. So I will not be doing stand-up, unfortunately, but I have a lot of great friends who are going to be. So Lilibeth Helson, Joseph Annalyn, Ivy Cordova, and the super hilarious sketch group Granny Cart Gangstas, who are part of Bindle Stiff 2, are going to be gracing our stage, as well as Kuya Rex Navarrete. I am so excited that he said yes to us. And he made our stop part of his California tour. And what was really great too is that he went to college with one of my cousins. So he like knows my family. He knew the importance of my Uncle Pat Salver and his sacrifice. And he said, you know, I'm going to dedicate this show to him. And that really like touched me and my mother's heart, and just really, really appreciate Kuya Rex. And then we also have beautiful musical performers, some local performers, Jen Clamina and Danielle Mendoza. And of course, famous, YouTube famous AJ Raphael, who actually grew up with my husband. So
what are the chances? Such a small world.
So we're just like calling in all the favors.
That is awesome. So that's going to be on August 8th?
Yes, 8/8, which is a good luck number.
Yes, it is. 8/8, what time?
8/8, it starts at 2 p.m. and it ends at 7 because of San Francisco noise permit restrictions. So don't get there too late or else you'll miss the whole show.
Miss the whole show. Sounds good. And can people still buy tickets, or are you sold out?
Yeah. No, we've sold about 150, close to 200, but we're gonna sell until about 350, 400. We don't want to full capacity just because we want there to be space for folks to breathe and, you know, socially distance enough. But we also have streaming. We're going to stream the entire event on Kumu. So if folks are like in the Philippines, they're in Southern California like you, they can just watch the entire event on the Kumu app. So please download the Kumu app and watch and support that way too.
And another important question, is there food and drinks?
Yes. Of course, it's a Filipino party.
I'm just checking. I just had to check.